Hello, everybody. You're probably not sat down for the exact same thing that's going to happen right now. So the original talk has actually been cancelled. So I'm not sure what you're expecting to hear right now. But what I'll do is I've agreed to stand in and give a slightly different talk. So I won't be offended if this talk isn't for you. But what I'm going to talk about is new ways of financing your business, and crowdfunding, which you may have heard about, and how the whole landscape is completely changing, and how raising finance actually relates to marketing today as well. So if that doesn't interest you, because you were expecting something else, and I won't be offended if you wanted to leave. If you do want to hear all about how to get some cash into your business, and how you might be becoming an investor through crowdfunding, and how raising finance and marketing are actually merging together, then please do hang around. So that's we've got to get a pretty good turnout anyway. So, okay, well, my name is Simon Dixon. I'm from banktothefuture.com. We're exhibiting over there. Banktothefuture.com is an equity crowdfunding platform. What that means is that we're kind of like an online dragon's den. And an online dragon's den where you're all the dragon and anyone can be an investor from as little as £10. And the reason that we're allowed to do that is because the whole environment in the UK has completely changed to facilitate the ability for you to promote your business through online platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Bank to the Future, and allow anybody to be an investor. And so just a little bit a bit of background on how I led up to this, and what Bank to the Future is. What I'd like to do is just give you a bit of background, then I'd like to tell you 3 trends of why today is one of the most exciting and unique times. You'd be forgiven for thinking that in the current environment it's hard to raise finance. That's simply because what I'd like to do is lay the case for you that you're actually raising finance in the prehistoric, a different world that doesn't actually exist anymore. So it's really hard to raise finance in the world that doesn't exist anymore. And I'd like to lay the case for you of what is happening today and exactly what's going to be happening over the next 10 years and how you can benefit from that as well. My background is originally I was in investment banking, and my job was to raise lots of finance for very large companies in the hundreds of millions. And in 2006, I decided to throw in the corporate towel, and I became a business, an entrepreneur. And I set up a qualification company for investment bankers at the time. I was fortunate enough to have that funded by a billionaire called Peter Hargreaves, who founded a company called Hargreaves Lansdown. So I went through that phase of transitioning from the corporate world of having loads of things around you to having nothing but yourself. And having to go out there and persuade a rich person that they should invest into your vision. So I know what the difference is like. It's very, very different. And I know some of the challenges that we have to face as businesses and entrepreneurs trying to get our messages out there. I started working in sustainable banking stuff, and I wrote a book on the future of banking, and then called Bank to the Future. And then when the crisis got worse and worse, I founded a platform called banktothefuture.com with a group of us who were all committed to seeing if we could get some more finance into the business space. So that's a little bit of the background. But why is today unique? Well, today is unique for 3 reasons, and there's 3 trends today, and this is 100% unique to the UK. So we're the envy of America right now in terms of what's happening. For the first time, we're kicking Silicon Valley's ass in the UK with this innovation. The first trend is a global trend. And the global trend is that the cost to starting in business has never been cheaper ever before. The reason for that, I mean, in the UK, we had about 600,000 businesses not so long ago. Now we've got 4.8 million, approaching 5 million. The reason being is because in Silicon Valley, they're paying the bills, essentially, for us to have access to global television networks through YouTube. And Silicon Valley has paid the bills in the billions for us to have access to platforms like Facebook and Twitter, to have worldwide global distribution networks. And Silicon Valley has paid the bill for us to no longer have offices and factories, and instead we have Skype and Salesforce and all the other innovations. To the point now where pretty much for many businesses, the startup cost has shrunk to nothing more than an internet connection, a smartphone, and a laptop. And that's why we've had this surge of businesses, because other companies are paying the bills for us to be able to run and start a business on an internet connection, a smartphone, and a laptop. That's a global trend. But what's happening right now in the UK is 100% unique. The first trend was actually created by our government, and the government recognized that we actually all need you as businesses to actually employ people. And the key to turning around our economy is for you to employ 1, 2, 3, 4 people. And they understand that almost all businesses employ people after securing funding for their business. So what they've done is they've created the most generous, the envy of the world, the most no-brainer tax structure that's ever been created, and it's the most generous thing. And that is that all of you can now go out and raise finance, and if you're a qualifying business and you get yourself qualified, you can actually claim that an investor that invests in your business can claim back up to 86% of what they invest in you. To put that into context, you could go out and raise 100 grand in the next few weeks, and the investor could claim back up to £86,000 of that, which de-risks investing in you to the tune of about 14 grand. That is a much more attractive proposition. Traditionally, when you're pitching an investor for finance, they analyze, would I rather invest in property, which is much less risky, or would I rather invest in you? And traditionally, the argument was always favored and skewed into property. So we have this massive culture of investing in property in the UK. But now, because of this tax scheme, which is only for UK people, they've created one of the only ways of an employee, anybody that works for a company, can actually claim back the tax they've already paid by investing in companies. And so normally when you get your wages, there's no way of getting your income tax back. Now they've implemented one of the only ways of doing that, and that is by investing in companies. So that is 100% unique to the UK, and it's creating a truckload of money that's falling into the business steps right now for the businesses that are positioning themselves ready for this thing. The tax scheme is called Seed Enterprise Investment Scheme. I don't want to go into the geek of it. If anyone wants the geek of it, come to me in the stand. I'll send you a video that explains it in a nice video animation and how you can take advantage of it. But the third trend, and this is the game changer, it was invented in the UK, and it's something called crowdfunding. And crowdfunding essentially says that nowadays you don't need to be a bank in order to lend money to a business. You don't need to be a rich person to invest in companies. You don't need to be a big institutional venture capitalist in order to start getting on the ladder of one of the highest most profitable asset classes, which is investing in businesses. Investing in business is what's called a high-risk, high-return asset class. And now anybody can do that. What an equity crowdfunding platform like Bank to the Future does is essentially it allows anyone to put their business online, get themselves ready for investors, get the tax schemes right, and then you can upload all your Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn contacts, and anybody can invest from as little as £10. What are the grander implications of this equity crowdfunding is that now you're not just pitching to rich people. You're pitching to everyone and everything, and they can get involved from as little as £10, £100, £1,000, and they can also claim back the money from the tax that they're already paying from their jobs or whatever it is. That translates into one of the most unique trends. Let's put this into context. Firstly, the startup cost in business has never been lower. Internet connection, smartphone, laptop. The UK government at the very same time has de-risked investing in you and you investing in business to the tune of 86%. At the very same time, equity crowdfunding comes along and says, well, you don't need to be a bank or rich person anymore. Anybody can be an investor, democratized investing, and essentially now you're in an environment where the costs are lower, it's never been less risky, and anybody can be an invest. That is the shift that we're experiencing right now. And I'd like to show you the implications of that shift and how you can take advantage of this for either your business or someone that's paying tax at the moment. Firstly, this is what Sir Richard Branson said. He was very fortunate enough to help us with our launch and endorse us across all the press when we launched Bank to the Future. And Bank to the Future, essentially, what we are doing is we've taken technology and digital marketing and the digital space, and we've said, well, in 2007 the world changed because of and in 2007 we shifted from BC to AD. It had nothing to do with Jesus Christ, everything to do with the financial crisis. The BC world I'm about to describe to you is the people that are struggling for finance right now. The AD world are the people that are securing finance because they've adjusted to those three trends that I just discussed. The BC stands for the before crowdfunding world, and the after debt crisis world is the AD world. Now here's what the dusty old before crowdfunding world used to look like. Firstly, it used to be really expensive to start in a business because we didn't have global distribution networks like YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. We didn't have monthly subscriptions to services like Salesforce, and we didn't have Skype as our office. We didn't have any of those services. So we used to have to employ people and create factories, and we didn't have crowdsourcing. We weren't able to get designs done by millions of people around the world and create this global crowdsourced environment that we're in today. So therefore, you always needed a massive chunk of cash to get started in business. That massive chunk of cash used to come from what they call friends, founders, and family. The founder of the business, the friends of the founders, and the family. If you speak to others, they call it friends, fools, and family, because it's quite risky at that stage when you've got an idea to invest in you. Here's the thing. Raising 25 million, raising 100 million, raising $1 billion is a much, much easier job than raising 10 to 50 or to 100 grand. The hardest finance you ever raise is when you've got your idea and your early stage concept and you're trying to persuade people to invest in you. It's way harder to raise 100 grand for a concept than it is to raise £1 billion through a public offering. It's a lot harder. So therefore, it was always the friends, the family, and the founders that would invest because at that point. And then what would happen is if you took that money and you risked your parents' money and they loved you, so they invested the 50 grand in you, even though they couldn't afford it, and you took some, and you saved enough money from your job, and you took the bold step of quitting your job, then you used to be able to turn that into a product and generate some sales. And at that point, the bank might have lent to you in the before crowdfunding world. Here's the things that banks do. Banks are not in the business of lending you money based upon ideas, concepts, and business plans. Banks are in the business of lending you money based upon cash flow. And there's two things. If you're pitching a bank, there's two things you're pitching. Firstly, you need a track record of income that's already come in for the last couple of years that's consistent so that you can prove that you can afford to repay the loan plus the interest. And if it goes wrong, they want your security. So they're asking for your property, your assets, whatever it is that you own as security. So when you're pitching a bank, you're not saying, here's this amazing business plan. They don't know how to read that. They're not in the world of creating businesses. That's what entrepreneurs do. What they understand is the world of repaying cash flow and security, okay? So that's what you're pitching to a bank. So that's why early stage companies don't get loans from banks unless there's some kind of government scheme to facilitate that. So that's what it used to look like. And then if you got to that stage where you put the capital in, you generated some sales, you got your bank overdraft or your bank loan, at that point you had something that you could probably pitch to a very wealthy person called a business angel. Now the challenge with business angels, especially in the UK, is that we have less of an appetite for risk in the UK than we do in America. So in America they're willing to take more risks on businesses. And in the UK they're less willing. They much prefer property investing. So the angel market consists of people that you're trying to persuade away from property investing to putting into your business. A challenging market. The other challenge is that there's way more businesses that want funding than angel investors and rich angel investors willing to invest. So the way it used to look like in the angel investing world is you're looking for someone that roughly, approximately has about £10 million of net worth to pitch. Here's the reason why. Investing in a company is always the riskiest way, and it's high risk, high return. So it can make you the most money, but it's the most risky investment you could make. So therefore, a rich person would say, well, I'm willing to put about 10% of my portfolio in risk. And the average investment used to be around about 100 grand in the before crowdfunding world. So therefore, I'd need to have an average of 10 investments to have a good portfolio and make some good returns. So therefore, 100 grand times 10 means £1 million. 10% of my portfolio means that £10 million portfolio of investable assets. So you're looking for people that there's not that many willing to invest in business. So there's always way more businesses than people, and unless you're hugely connected, then it was always a challenge for a business. Now, if you got to this stage, then you're in the promised land. And the promised land is we have a beautiful financial system in the UK to raise more than £1 million. To raise less than £1 million has never had a well-structured, well-defined process in the before crowdfunding world. But it used to be that if you got an angel, then you used to be able to pitch what's called a venture capitalist. The difference between an angel and a venture capitalist is an angel is spending their own money, a venture capitalist is spending other people's money. So a venture capitalist tends to get together money from people contributing to their pension or their insurance or whatever it is, and they invest in companies and they employ a venture capitalist in order to make those investment decisions. Now, they're only interested in investing 1 million to 10 million, that approximate number. They're not interested in investing 10 grand, 100 grand, £250,000 or anything like that. So once you hit this stage, you're then in the promised land. The only difference between a sandwich shop and a pret-a-manger is that a pret-a-manger learnt how to package their business where they could access this form of finance. That's the only difference. The sandwich shop stayed here with the friends, founders, family money. The sandwich shop versus the pret-a-manger. So access to finance is the difference between the big corporates that you see versus the small business, okay? So learning access to finance is pretty much the main difference, and that's a skill worth learning. Once you've got venture capital funding, you can then raise 25 million from a private equity firm. Easy job if you're a private equity deal, inundated with deals that they want to lend, that they want to invest in. And then the big money comes from taking your company public, and once you're public, you can access billions from what we call the debt markets, where you can issue bonds, okay? So this is the before crowdfunding world. Small to medium-sized enterprise, their job used to be, if they wanted to build a pret-a-manger from a sandwich shop, was to try and get here. And this was the biggest struggle. And then once you're here, we've got a great financial market in the UK for you to access billions, grow, scale, chains, just do everything that you need to do. So what happened in 2007 is that all of these markets fell away, and they fell away slightly, and so out of technological innovation came a solution for raising these sums of funding. And this is what the after debt crisis world looks like. In the after debt crisis world, the startup cost shrank from the 50 grand on average to the £1,000 on average. Your startup cost became your internet connections, laptop and smartphone, as already stated. And then with an internet connection, a laptop and a smartphone, you have the ability to create a pitch video. And with that pitch video, you have the ability to upload it to what's called a crowdfunding platform, where people can actually start contributing money to your idea and your business. So here's how crowdfunding works. It was popularized by a very famous website in the States called Kickstarter, or you might have heard of Indiegogo. It originally started because independent filmmakers really struggled to raise finance. But what they could do to make their movie is they could create a trailer. And from that trailer, what if they could upload it to an online website and they could offer rewards to people that would give them small amounts of money? And so the independent movies uploaded their trailers to websites like Kickstarter and said, here's the movie that I want to create. And if you give me 10 quid, then I'll give you an invite to the movie premiere. And if you give me 50 quid, I'll give you an invite to the movie premiere plus a digital copy of the film once it's made. And if you give me 100 quid, I'll invite you to the movie premiere and I'll feature you in the credits of the movie. And if you give us £1,000, we'll make you the non-executive producer of the movie as a title. And then suddenly businesses caught on and millions was raised for independent movies, all through online crowdfunding sites where people could just spread it through social media and people could contribute money from friends, family, and they turned it into a structured process. Then businesses caught on and said, well, if independent movies could do that, could we do that? And so a very famous example is a company called Pebbles Watch. Pebbles Watch was turned down by the venture capitalist. They invented a watch that speaks to your iPhone, and you could, control your iPhone from your watch. And they said, well, here's our team, here's our video, here's the watch we want to create. We're going to sell this for $200. If anybody would like this watch, you can contribute to our pitch and give us $150 right now. If we raise 100 grand on an all or nothing basis, then we will make this watch and you will get it at a $50 discount in 9 months' time. And so what actually happened is 37,500 orders later, they had 10.3 million in the bank because the crowd said, we want this watch. And they proved the concept rather than going through the heartache of creating all the watch up front, finding all the venture capitalists. They essentially sold the product before they created the product, and the crowd said, we want this watch. What's better for market research than that? Now, £10.3 million is not an average crowdfund. The average is about 10 grand. So I understand you might get excited about that at this point, and it's not for all businesses, because you've got to have a product, and some businesses don't necessarily have a retail product that everyone can easily, tangibly understand, like a watch. And they may not have the ability to market it as well. So in stepped the next innovation, which was invented in the UK. And this we spent at Bank to the Future 3 years persuading the Bank of England, the Financial Conduct Authority, the Financial Services Authority, the regulators, the HMRC and the Treasury to all change the rules in order to allow people to offer shares to investors online. Before those rules changed, it was punishable by a 7-year prison sentence if you went out and pitched your business to investors that hadn't been through the regulatory requirement. And it required you to get an FCA authorized company to go through your business plan and verify everything, and that used to cost you 50 grand. Hence the reason why it only was profitable to raise £1 million plus. So what we did is we said, well, screw all of that, we're in the digital era. What if anybody could be an investor? What if people could invest small? What if we could take care of all the compliance? What if we could get the business's investment ready? What if it all could be done online and anybody could be a dragon? And what if HMRC gave everybody a massive tax break for doing it? Then we could revitalize our economy, create lots of jobs and fuel the entrepreneurial journey. And that is exactly what we did. We launched about a year ago and with Sir Richard Branson's support. And since then, you can see on the homepage of our website exactly how much is being invested every single day in businesses. And what we do is we help you get investment ready to pitch online, and we've got 4,500 investors that have all registered looking to get tax breaks, and you're now all investors, your banks, your angel investors, your venture capitalists. Is no longer the institution, it's the democratization and the deinstitutionalization of finance, where it's no longer the companies which decide who gets funded, it's you decide who gets funded. America are changing the laws to try and copy us. We invented it, and it's going really, really fast. And so that is the second invention that's come in the before crowdfunding, in the after debt crisis world, sorry. So now you can start an idea for small, you can record a pitch, rather than pitching investors, you can go out and offer rewards. But if you need to pitch investors, we've now made it so that you can actually raise much larger sums than the 10 grand by offering shares to people and allowing anybody to be an investor through all your connections. So now this is the monetization of good online and offline behavior, and essentially video and digital marketing is disrupting the world of traditional finance. And then came the next invention, which we're going to be launching in November of next year, which is actually, what if you could take the really creditworthy businesses and actually put them through a model of making sure that they can repay their debts? And if they can, list them on the website, and rather than people having to deposit money in a bank and get 0. Whatever %, they could receive about 8 to 10% by lending it to businesses and diversify it across a pool of lots of different borrowers, so that if anyone defaults on their loan, they've got the other borrowers to make up for it. And it's called crowd lending, and it's coming very soon, and there's platforms out there that are doing it at the moment. So now, here's the game changer. For the very first time in history, there is a well-defined, well-structured process for you to get from your idea to raise finance through crowdfunding, to sell shares through crowd investing, to borrow through crowd lending, and get yourself at the point and at the scale where you can access the big financial markets to turn your sandwich shop into a pret-a-manger. And this is all happening before your very eyes right now, and it's growing extremely fast. So the people that are struggling for funding right now are raising funding in the before crowdfunding world. The people that are securing funding right now are using this model in the after debt crisis world. And that's about all I've got time for before the next talk. All I wanted to do is, because I haven't got time, I'd love to answer, oops, let me turn that off. I'd love to take any of your questions on any aspect of raising finance. I'm there over the stand. If anyone would like to find out about how they can claim back their tax by investing in companies and build a portfolio, then I'm happy to send you a video. We'll just zap you over there. And if anyone would like to explore getting investment ready, then please do come us over at the stand. And we've got some content here which takes all of that stuff that I really just rushed through, and where you can actually digest it at home through one of our newspapers. So I hope that's opened up a new world. I hope that's given you some new food for thought and some new possibilities. And I look forward to seeing if we can work with any of you to take advantage of this new world that we're about to experience. Thank you.